I never thought I'd be forced into something so outrageous. How did my husband convince me to do this? I've asked myself that question 100 times. But no matter how much I try to make sense of it, the answer only leaves me more confused and ashamed. Before I tell you what happened, you need to understand how it all began. Because it wasn't always like this. Not even close. When I married my husband, Darren, 6 years ago, I thought I'd found the perfect partner. He was everything I'd ever wanted, charming, thoughtful, and someone who truly seemed to understand me. We both had a deep love for animals, and it felt like a perfect match when we decided to get Bella, our beautiful horse. We bought her together just a year after we got married. She quickly became the heart of our little family, the one thing we both treasured. Every day, we'd spend hours in the stable, brushing her mane, taking her for walks, and laughing at her playful antics. Those quiet evenings, just the three of us, felt like home. But something started to change about a year ago. Darren became different. I first noticed it when he started spending more and more time on his phone, scrolling through social media, watching videos, and reading articles about viral trends. He'd stay up late at night, researching ways to make quick money online, constantly talking about how we could capitalize on trends, how we could go viral and get rich. At first, I didn't think much of it. It was harmless, right? Everyone's looking for ways to get ahead, I thought. Who doesn't dream of success? But it didn't stop there. He started talking less about our life, about us, and more about views, likes, and followers. I remember one evening, we were in the stable with Bella, just like we always did, and Darren mentioned a video idea. It was small at first, a funny clip with Bella doing something cute, just a simple thing to share online. I didn't think much of it, but the more he talked about it, the more I realized how serious he was about turning our life into content. What once felt like peaceful, intimate moments became opportunities for him to set up cameras, to capture everything, even our private time with Bella. He started to see her not as our beloved horse, but as a potential moneymaker. At first, I played along. I didn't want to discourage him, and honestly, it didn't seem harmful. But the more Darren got wrapped up in these ideas, the more I felt like something wasn't right. What used to be quiet evenings turned into endless plans for videos, for posts, for social media stunts. What had once been an escape from the world, our special time with Bella, was now just another way for Darren to try and gain fame. And I could feel the shift in me too, the distance between us, the pressure mounting as I realized I wasn't sure what I was giving up anymore. At first, it was simple, innocent videos of Bella in the stable, nothing too special. Just the usual moments we shared with her. Eating, playing, a few clips of her galloping across the paddock. It was fun, lighthearted, and I didn't mind it. Bella had always been a part of our lives, so filming her didn't feel out of place. And the more we filmed, the more Darren seemed to light up. We'd laugh together as we watched the views climb, the comments praising Bella's beauty, and everything seemed so carefree. It felt like something special, just us and our horse, sharing small moments with the world. But soon, Darren started talking about adding skits, little scenes to make the video stand out. He said it would be fun, cute, harmless even. I didn't see a problem with it at first. It was all in good fun, right? We could dress Bella up, maybe even do some funny acting around her, and that would bring in more attention. I agreed to try it, thinking it wouldn't be anything too serious. Just a couple of silly skits with Bella playing along, maybe pretending she was part of some playful scenario. I didn't think it would go further than that. But that's where it all began to change. The skits started to feel more scripted, more forced. What began as a simple idea turned into something Darren was obsessed with. He wanted more, and each new idea was more outlandish than the last. Bella, once our beloved companion, became the centerpiece of every concept Darren had, and with each passing day, it felt less like a fun activity and more like a business venture. I could see it in his eyes, the hunger for views, for likes, for some sort of recognition. And Bella wasn't just a horse anymore, she was a tool to make us famous. One day, Darren came to me with what he called $1 million idea. He was practically glowing, his voice filled with excitement as he laid it out. He had this vision: I would dress up in a ridiculous outfit, act out a skit with Bella, and let him film it. He said it would be something big, something viral. He was convinced that this would be our big break, that it would put us on the map. And there it was, this idea that I could see in Darren's eyes was more than just a cute skit, it was a business plan, a way to get rich. I felt my heart sink as he explained it to me. It sounded absurd, uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to respond. I stood there, frozen, my mind racing. I wanted to make Darren happy, but I didn't know if I could do this, if I could cross that line. He was so certain this was the right move, so desperate to make it happen. And as his excitement filled the room, I felt the pressure building. It wasn't just an idea anymore, it was an expectation. The more I hesitated, the more his enthusiasm shifted. It started with disappointment, but then I saw it, anger. He was angry that I wasn't on board with his big plan. He didn't understand why I wasn't as excited as he was. It wasn't just a suggestion anymore, it was an ultimatum. I felt trapped. If I didn't go along with it, I feared he'd pull away from me, maybe even stop looking at me the same way. But if I did, I was afraid I'd lose myself in a world that wasn't mine anymore. One evening, Darren asked me to dress up, act out a bizarre skit with Bella, and let him film it. At first, I thought he was joking, he'd done that before, suggesting ridiculous things, just to see how I'd react. But when I saw the seriousness in his eyes, I realized he wasn't. He wanted me to wear something out of the ordinary, something that felt completely out of place, and act like I was a character in some silly, degrading skit. "It'll be funny," he said. "People will love it, I promise." But to me, it didn't feel funny, it felt wrong. It felt humiliating. I had seen how his obsession with these videos had taken over everything. He'd gotten so caught up in the idea of fame and success, he didn't care about what it took to get there. He didn't care if it made me feel uncomfortable. It was all about what would get us the most attention. The more he pushed, the more I started to realize that Bella, our beautiful, gentle horse, was no longer just a part of our family. She was a prop. I was a prop. And that thought made my stomach churn. I stood there, staring at Bella. My hands felt clammy, my pulse racing. Bella stood there, looking at me with her big brown eyes, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding. I loved her so much, she was always so gentle, so calm. But here I was, about to be asked to perform some ridiculous skit with her. It was like everything that had once been pure and simple was now being twisted into something I didn't recognize. My heart was pounding, and all I could think was, how did we get here? I wanted to say no. I wanted to walk away, tell him this was wrong, tell him I wouldn't do it. But the fear in me kept me frozen. Darren's enthusiasm was overwhelming. He was so sure this would work, so convinced that this was the way forward. I could feel his desperation in every word. It wasn't just about making a video anymore, it was about proving something to the world, about showing everyone that we were something special. And the more I hesitated, the more his excitement turned to frustration, and then to anger. He didn't understand why I wasn't on board with him. Every time I hesitated, I could see the irritation building on his face, the impatience growing in his voice. I felt like I was suffocating. Torn between keeping my husband happy and preserving my dignity, I didn't know where to turn. The pressure was unbearable. I wanted to make him happy, I wanted to show him that I supported him, that I was willing to do whatever it took. But deep down, I knew this wasn't me. This wasn't what I signed up for. Every fiber of my being screamed no, but there was this voice in the back of my mind telling me I couldn't disappoint him. I couldn't lose him. I glanced at Bella again, my heart aching as I saw the trust in her eyes. I was about to use her in a way that felt wrong. I didn't want to be part of Darren's obsession anymore, but I was so afraid that if I said no, it would be the end of everything we had built. My fear of losing him, losing everything, made me question myself. Was it worth it to walk away from all of it just to keep my dignity? I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing, caught in a whirlwind of confusion and guilt. If I said no, would Darren get angry? Would he leave me? Would he stop seeing me as his partner, as his equal? Would I be betraying him, or was I betraying myself by going along with it? I could feel the weight of the decision on my shoulders, and I wasn't sure I was strong enough to bear it. I couldn't go through with it. The moment Darren asked me to dress up and perform that skit with Bella, something in me snapped. I couldn't ignore the weight of what he was asking me to do any longer. It wasn't just about a silly video, it was about my self-respect, my dignity, my sense of who I was. I couldn't compromise that. I walked away, and in that moment, I knew there was a chance I might lose everything. I might lose Darren's trust, his love, and our entire relationship. But no matter how hard it was, I had to stand by my integrity. I remember walking out of that room, hearing Darren's voice rise in frustration behind me, but I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I could feel the anger in the air, thick and suffocating, but I didn't go back. I just kept walking. With each step, a part of me felt lighter, like I was reclaiming something that had been lost over the past few months. But the other part of me, the part that loved Darren and wanted to make him happy, felt like it was tearing apart. I knew that walking away might cost me everything, but I had to believe it was worth it. I had to believe that standing up for myself was the only way to preserve the person I wanted to be. Darren's reaction wasn't what I expected. He didn't chase after me, didn't beg me to stay. Instead, he just stood there, staring at me with disbelief. His face twisted in anger, frustration bubbling over. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't just go along with it. He was so sure that I was ruining everything, that I was stopping us from achieving something great. And the more he tried to convince me, the more I knew that I couldn't give in. He couldn't see it, but I could. I could see how far he'd fallen into this obsession with fame and success, how he'd stopped caring about what truly mattered to us. I wasn't going to let that define me. I wasn't going to let my life be reduced to a viral moment. After that night, everything changed. Darren wasn't the same. I wasn't the same. There was an unspoken distance between us, a gap that grew wider with each passing day. He stopped talking to me the way he used to. He'd withdrawn to his world, consumed by his videos and the next idea, while I tried to find a way to navigate the silence. The anger he held inside never fully disappeared. Sometimes I'd catch him looking at me with a mix of betrayal and confusion, and it tore me apart. But I knew, deep down, that it was the right decision. I couldn't give up who I was for him. No amount of fame, no number of viral views, was worth losing myself. I may have lost Darren's trust, and maybe we'd never find our way back to the way we were, but I found peace in that. I found peace in choosing myself. I realized that sometimes, you have to make the hardest decision for the right reasons. I had to put myself first, not because I didn't love him, but because I loved myself too much to lose sight of who I was in the process. I won't let anyone, not even the person I thought I would spend my life with, strip me of my dignity. And even though it was painful, even though it hurt more than I ever thought it would, I walked away with my head held high. I chose me. This experience taught me that no matter how much you love someone, your values should never be compromised. Your integrity is worth more than any fleeting moment of fame or approval. In the end, the love you have for yourself is what will always carry you through the hardest times. There's something powerful about choosing yourself, even when it feels like the whole world might be crumbling around you. When you stand firm in your beliefs, it's not just about protecting your dignity, it's about protecting the person you are, deep down. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to stand up for your dignity? When you had to choose yourself over everything else? I'd love to hear your story. Please share it in the comments below. I know I'm not alone in this, and your story could help someone else going through something similar. If you found this story powerful, click here to watch more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Subscribe so you don't miss out on new, inspiring stories that will make you think, feel, and reflect.